On today's show, what went wrong for the Boston Celtics in Game 4 of the NBA Finals against the Dallas Mavericks? Who is the Celtics' current Finals MVP favorite? And Kristaps Porzingis' future in Boston. It's all coming up on today's Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA, the biggest stories with the local experts. I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now, today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. Because LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the absolute best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals that you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all of that while making the process easy and intuitive, because LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or the resources for hiring. LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process even easier. They just launched a feature that actually helps you write job descriptions. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnba. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnba to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Joining us now is the host of Locked On Celtics and Locked On NBA, John Karalis. You can track down wherever you listen to your podcasts or on YouTube. Just search Locked On Celtics. And John, the Celtics were sitting there. They were poised to sweep the Dallas Mavericks here in the NBA Finals. Now, look, sweeping any team in the postseason is really hard, let alone in the NBA Finals itself. So let's start right there. What went wrong for Boston in Game 4?
I think they were pressing a bit. I think they saw the opportunity there to win a championship. I think they tried maybe too hard, which is kind of the opposite take that some people have in Boston, that they didn't try hard enough. I didn't see a lazy team. I didn't see a disinterested team. I saw a team that wanted it so much that every non-call, they were frustrated by it. Every mistake, they were just kind of, it was just a little bit extra. So I think talking to the guys at their media availability on Sunday, the consensus is calm down. It's okay to smile. It's okay to laugh. It's okay to have some fun in this moment. It's still basketball, and, play a little loose and just make sure you're making your reads. And I think when you're playing tight and you're pressing, I think you tend to miss some of the obvious stuff. I thought they made uncharacteristic mistakes, and, that's not to take away any credit from Dallas. Dallas made adjustments. Dallas played great. Boston didn't respond to any of that. And so I don't know if everything that I said just now came to fruition. I'm not saying they would have won, but they wouldn't have lost by 40.
Yeah, it was a historic finals blowout loss, unfortunately. The crazy thing is right now is Celtics could close this thing out in Game 5 and still lose the point differential battle for the series, which is a little ridiculous to think about.
That'd be fun.
Why? So, John, why should Celtics fans be confident, in this team's ability to not only rebound in Game 5 and obviously, at least make it competitive, but potentially close the thing out and bring home another title?
Well, I mean, first of all, they're at home, and that does make a difference. I think it makes a difference not only for how the Celtics will play, but how Dallas will play. That's just a hostile environment, and you can't help but react to that kind of thing. Second of all, the Celtics have never put this season 2 stinkers like that in a row. Each time they've been blown out, which was rare, but each time they've been blown out, they responded with a big effort. And so the blowouts didn't start a cascading effect. It actually was always just a one-off. So they've always done well with this season. So I think the Celtics are aware of what they did. They are aware of how Dallas is playing, and no disrespect to Dallas, but Dallas only has a few bullets that they can go to here, and they fired a couple of them. And I think Boston can look at the game film and say, okay, we missed some obvious things. And if you don't take advantage of those obvious things, then Dallas's defense is going to be perfect and you're going to lose. But if you do recognize these things and say, oh, okay, we should do these 2-3 things that we've been doing all season. We just didn't do them. Then I think they should be okay. And then it just becomes a matter of the shots falling, which I know it's been a little bit of a problem for Boston this series, but we haven't seen the 40% from three shooting game yet. And I think they're due for one of those. So I think tactically I see things, and, a little bit on the hopeful side, I think they might be due for a hot shooting night.
Yeah, maybe they were just saving it for the closeout game in front of the home crowd, right? No.
That's if you want to buy into some of those conspiracy theories. Yeah. Wick Grossbeck said, "Hey, I got to pay Jayson Tatum too next year." Like, oh God, can we get an extra gate so I can pay some of these guys?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Some of the takes were a little wild after that Game 4 loss. All right, look, right now as it stands, potential closeout game on the horizon. Who is the Celtics finals MVP right now, and why?
Yeah, I'm still going Jaylen Brown right now. A little bit ahead of Jayson Tatum, and then a little bit more ahead of Jrue Holiday. Jaylen has just been, aside from Game 4, I think that caveat can just be applied to everybody. Jaylen has been great on both ends of the floor, and I think that's the important thing, where he's kind of playing the most well-rounded basketball of his life. He's defending incredibly well. He's moving the ball. He's getting a lot more assists than usual, and he's still scoring. So the Jaylen of games 1, 2, and 3 is certainly worthy, and the Jayson of games 1, 2, and 3 is also worthy, but he just hasn't hit enough shots. So if he comes out and has like a 40-point triple-double in Game 5 for a Celtics win, then it's probably going to be Tatum. So there is still a little bit up in the air, but I'm going Jaylen right now.
I'm glad you bring up Tatum, because I feel like he is maybe one of the more divisive star players in today's league. He just receives a lot of flack, and I know you've spoken about this over at your show, Locked on Celtics. We've discussed it here at Locked on NBA, but about his kind of evolution as a player, right? Becoming a more well-rounded player, being able to impact the game in a variety of different ways, not exclusively relying on his ability to just score the basketball to impact a game. What would you say to those who have been less than impressed with Jayson Tatum, not just in the finals, but just kind of this postseason run as a whole, because some of the scoring metrics aren't where you would expect them to be for a 1A star player like Tatum?
I guess I would say the simplest way is, well, go check his on-off numbers. He's one of, I don't know if he was the leader, but one of the leaders at the top of plus minus. So if he's not as impactful, as some people want to put it, then the plus minus over a long sample size of the season would kind of show it, and it doesn't. It shows a guy that really is impactful, especially on this team. This team doesn't need a heliocentric superstar. It needs a ball mover. It needs a guy that can start giving the Celtics advantages, 3-on-2s, 2-on-1s. And once that happens, you put the other team in rotation, and the ball will find the right guys. And some nights it's Derek White and Jrue Holiday, or Al Horford, or Kristaps Porzingis. Some nights it is Tatum and it is Brown. But there's a reason why the Celtics became a 64-win team and are on the verge of winning almost 80% of 101 games. It's because Tatum is an incredibly talented player, an incredibly talented, well-rounded player who moves the ball. Yes, he can score, but he took a step back scoring-wise so he could move the ball, and he defends well, and he rebounds great. So he does a lot of things. I think most teams would love to have a player of Tatum's caliber that does as much as he does on both ends of the floor.
Now, I may be jumping the gun here with this a little bit, but I am very curious your thoughts on this. And I've caught myself wondering this throughout this postseason run, but despite Boston's success, and obviously they're one win away from a title, which is, impressive in and of itself. But is there potentially a hard conversation that needs to be had this offseason about Kristaps Porzingis and his future in Boston? If only because, right, he's a guy with a really rough, previous injury history, right? Hasn't played more than 60 games in a season, or has only played 60 games in a season once since the first couple of years that he was in the league. He's been, MIA largely this entire postseason run. I can't help but wonder, is this going to be a conversation that Celtics, front office brass has to revisit this offseason?
Nope, not one bit. Not one bit. Part of why he missed as many games as he did this season is the Celtics had the luxury of not having to play him. Luke Cornett was very effective as a third big, and they got through some stretches of the season where, Porzingis even said to us multiple times, if this was the playoffs, I'd be playing. They're being extra cautious. And they knew getting into it that this would be the case. You can easily make the argument that the injury he just suffered, I know all injuries on a guy that's injury prone tend to fall under the same umbrella, but this one was so rare that sometimes it is also just kind of bad luck. So I get it, but they committed to him. They gave him the 2-year extension, and probably at a little bit of a discount because of this, but he's been so important that you need him around, even if it's for those 60 games. And even though it might risk, something in the playoffs and not being there in the playoffs, you need him. And you also need to figure out how to win without him. Because if he does make it through an entire playoff run, then it makes it a little bit easier. And quite honestly, hopefully he does come back in Game 5, because that would make the prospect of Game 5 a lot easier. It would change a lot of the things that Dallas has done to adjust without him.
If Boston is able to close this thing out, are we getting a Locked on Celtics live stream from the parade?
I am hoping that I'm going to be on one of the duck boats. So not only are we going to be getting a live stream from the parade, if I am on one of the duck boats, you can bet your bottom dollar that I will be live streaming somewhere, somehow from that parade. Just hopefully nobody throws a can of beer at my head and hits me.
Will the Boston Celtics be able to close this thing out in Game 5 and raise another banner in TD Garden? You're going to have us covered for all of that and so much more over at Locked on Celtics. John, thanks for stopping by Locked on NBA with me.
You got it, my man.